Captain Aliyu?
Yeah, you see, the issue of Ekiti is quite what our literary people call a tragicomedy. You know, it's a sad and a very funny situation. I have come to have this mental picture of Ekiti people as a very academic and highly intellectual people, because going by their feats in the academia, you will know that no, these people are well read. So there's a little bit of, you know, curiosity. How did they end up with such a tempestuous person as governor? Because if you look at the governor of that state, you discover that he tends to be more of the choleric, what the psychologists would call the choleric kind of person. He is temperamental. If you see the tempo of things going around in Ekiti, it's always a war thing. And as we speak, as I speak to you, the entire process in Ekiti seems to have played itself against him. He seems to have boxed himself in. I am an advocate of the use of soft force, because brute force, hard force, only makes your opponent harder. It hardens him up. So if Ekiti is a flashpoint today, as I said earlier, we can only have the contenders to blame. When you have somebody who is given to brute force to do things, you don't meet him with brute force, or you're going to just destroy everything you both have built. So Ekiti definitely is going to be a very, very special point, a flashpoint during these elections. They are going to need special attention if we are to keep the peace and the balance across board.
Well, you know, we've listed some of these states, and we're trying to deduce the reasons why NHRC has kept them as a flashpoint states. But we're also wondering, have we done anything to mitigate the fact that, you know, elections could be tempestuous in those states? Do you think that we've addressed the underlying factors and seeing how we can make elections a lot more transparent, knowing that that might, you know, reduce the need to resort to force when we see that the results, you know, followed largely the will of the people?
Yes, I would have, I don't know the legal implications of what I'm about to propose, but if I was in position, just as the peace accords were signed at the presidential level, and we got a gentleman's agreement out of the two contenders, I would have loved the peace treaties or accords that are proliferating right now to go a bit deeper by putting a level of indemnity on the stakeholders per state, so that if law enforcement grabs people and connects these people with your party, regardless whether you are directly their sponsor or not, there is a level of what indemnity on you. And you are going to definitely see a situation where these mischief makers will just perish the idea. Take a look at what has happened at the presidential levels. The results, the certificates that were given to the incumbent have hardly dried up, the inks are still wet, and some people have crossed carpet. Those are the mischief makers we're talking about. The EFCC, the SSS should be taking notes on these people and keeping dossiers on them. They are not politicians, they are profiteers. And if they have to burn a state to make a profit, why not?
So do you think that that will work, indemnity on, yes, on the major actors?
I am afraid if the document is not legal, you can then use that indemnity clause to put legality on that document. But I think that there are things that there are things that people are doing beyond focusing on political parties alone. Because it's also important to take this discussion back to the voters themselves, to let them understand that, yes, the political parties, they're signing the peace accord. But the peace we are talking about is about your own coexistence. And you must also understand that you have a strong stake in it, you know, as a member of that state. I know that working with the civil society, there are a lot of work that has been done by the society in terms of identifying key stakeholders that can influence people and talk to people with respect to ensuring that the coming election is peaceful. Organizations have had, and there have been some support from European Union, USAID, DFID, and a whole lot of other organizations to ensure that it's not only seen from the part of the political parties alone, but also from the citizens who also believe that they are the real stakeholders in the state, and the state must be peaceful beyond whatever peace accord that has been signed. I am aware that a lot seems to have been done in that regard.
Part of it is
Sorry,
INEC.
if I may just add, I agree with what she said, but let me give you a conspiracy theory aspect of this. You see, peace accords are what we call alternative dispute resolution methods.
Mechanism, yeah.
And based on what we know of ADRs, they are not binding per se on both parties. It's not like a court's ruling where you have to go and do it. And other than that, because of the mediatory role they play, as Barrister Ogumadu has said, there is no this vicarious liability element to it. So somebody could actually smile his way through your peace accord, then go home and tell his cohorts and his stalwarts, go ahead.
Just as it happened in River State.
They will do their metal worst. And the fact that you have signed a peace accord didn't change anything. Now, at the presidential level, we saw more maturity, political maturity, than we are going to see at the states level. Even though I'm confident the people will not be railroaded or led by the nose into violence, but I'm trying to say that those sponsors of violence can actually be given the litmus test of committing to what they sign by a measure of
more steps,
indemnity. If not, I can tell you they are going to make another tragicomic show of this.
Some people might say it's too late. Today is Friday. The indemnity has not even imposed on them.
Well,
and the peace accords have been signed.
They have been signed,
Yes.
agreed. But let me assure you that the signing of peace accords by these states at the state level is ceremonial. But let me also say that the resolve by the average citizen, less that little insignificant 1% that wants to cause damage, the resolve to do it right again is strong and very much in place.
Well, definitely it's very important. But if you look at it critically, there's another state that is also penciled down. That's Imo State. Well, before we come to analyze Imo State, let's first go into this and see what the people are saying. For so many of them in this particular state, they say what will be, but they are putting everything in the hands of God, divine intervention. They want a peaceful process, they want a peaceful election in Imo State, and we call up with some of them.
We are expecting that tomorrow election is going to bring good tidings to people of Imo State.
We are just asking God to come and take control. If not, I'm expecting that it will be bloody.
Well, we're godly people, and that is it. God should take control. How come? The Imo State is there. So
Yes, let me just respond to. I'm tired of hearing this thing about God taking control.
tell us more on that.
Let me tell you why. God is already in control. If you think you can slip away and allow God, look, God will not work for you. God will work with you. Okay? Whether you're a Muslim or a Christian, God will never work for you. God will work with you. So what we make of these elections is what God has willed for us. So don't sit down at home and say God will come and take control. It has never happened. It is not happening. It will never happen. If you want God's control, then work with God to make it happen. Don't expect God to come and work for you and give you results. So that's just what I want to say about that.
Well, for me, I think saying God will take control is also about frustration. Yeah, people are thinking that we don't seem to have the capacity to.
We do.
Well, I'm just speaking
you're
from the
yes,
to justify
get
why.
into the minds,
Because you'll get a lot of people saying that, to say, well, the situation that we are in a particular state it looks to us that we won't be able to do anything. That some of the things that we're talking about, probably they will say, well, it's theoretical. In the real sense, when you get to the polling stations and the boys, the boys are there with the guns and all that, you have no option than to run or to, and all. So people would rather want to say, okay, let's leave it to God. But I quite agree with you that we need to take steps. We need to understand our situation, our context. We need to understand what we can do and the power that we have as voters.
Yes.
The power we have also in our community to be able to know, because what we have realized also in elections, those who come to disrupt elections, they are not people who live in that environment. So we need to be much more conscious of our environment, to know those people, the strangers that are coming in the night, the strangers that are coming in during the days. Yes. And if we know that, maybe that will help us in addressing it. So, yes, God will take control, but we also need to take steps to ensure that the control is properly.
They say work and pray, but anyway, we'll come back there, and that's when I would like Ugumado to set the pace for us on the Imo, why Imo will be making this particular list of flashpoints to watch out, according to the NHRC. Well, Nigeria 2015 takes another moment now. We return shortly. Stay with us.